Hello everybody, welcome to your third lesson on Quebec immigration. So in this lesson we're going to move on and complete what we were discussing about economic programs for Quebec. Alright, so this is going to be a quick lesson as well. And the reason why is because we don't want to go too much into detail about these Quebec programs, but we do want to have a general overview of them. So when we think of the PEC, the Quebec Experience class, there's a lot of provinces with programs similar to this. There's obviously the Canadian Experience class for the federal government as well. It all makes perfect sense, right? Why would a government not want to keep its graduates and people with Canadian work experience? So the PEC reflects this idea that we see in most places in Canada. And there are a couple little differences in here as well. So one is the language exams. Remember, Quebec focuses on speaking and listening when there is a language requirement even. And in the PEC there is a language requirement. So it says level 7. Now level 7 does not mean CLB 7 with Quebec immigration, right? It means a level 7 of the Échelle Québécoise. So that might also be referred to as a B2. Quebec has academic programs, of course, and the person has to graduate from an eligible program. So it's a DLI, basically. There's a difference between the type of program that a person graduates from as well. So depending on the program, that would be reflected in the work experience that the person has. So previously, actually, the work experience had to be related to the academic qualification, but that's not the case anymore. So now if a person graduates with a diploma in biology, let's say, and gets his or her work experience as an accountant, that's fine to meet this program. Now you've got number 2 over here as well, and it's just a different kind of academic study that a person can do. It's more related to trades. So that's why you have the NOC occupation in there as well. So if it's NOC though, it has to be related to what the person studied. Internships counts as experience as well. And just like the Canadian Experience class, just like postgrad work permit, if the person is required to return to their country of origin, or they started a new program, or maybe they completed the majority of their program outside of Quebec, well, they wouldn't be eligible for this immigration stream. So that one was more related to people who study in Quebec and then want to immigrate. And the other stream within the PEC has to do more with people who have work experience in Quebec. So again, you've got the exact same language requirement, which is a level 7 in speaking and listening for French. You've got work experience requirement as well. The work experience requirement is a little bit more. So it's similar to the CEC, where it's NOC OAB in 2 of the last 3 years. But they have to be in that same job when applying. And just like any other program, really, work experience that is self-employed, where you were like the owner of the company, doesn't count. Part-time work does not count. So that's one thing to be aware of, because for a lot of other programs, part-time equivalents count, but in this one, it does not. Next, we have the Quebec Investor Program. So this one is kind of famous and maybe a little bit infamous as well, because I know for a lot of people who go through this program, they don't really stay in Quebec. And some people see this as sort of like buying residency and citizenship. So there's different opinions on that, but it is a program for Quebec. And with this one here, it brings up a really interesting point, and that is net worth. Now, net worth, we don't see it in, I'm trying to think of any federal programs where we see it, and I can't think of any right now, but maybe there's one. But anyways, for net worth, we're going to see this with 2 other programs here in Quebec, and It's basically the funds that a person has, right? Now, they have to always prove that those funds have been obtained legally. This is written everywhere on the Quebec website, so something must have happened, and it became a requirement. Donations, so let's say a person receives a donation or kind of a gift or something like that of $1 million 1 month before they apply for this program. That would not be accepted. But let's say somebody's grandparents or grandfather passed away 2 years ago and left $5 million to that person. Well, that would be okay because that's beyond the 6-month window. If the person immigrating through this program is married, well, it's that person, the principal applicant, and the spouse. Their net worth is combined in this. Okay, and then to the investor program. So there's a management experience requirement of 2 of the last 5 years, and the net worth for this is $2 million. It used to be 1.6 million years ago, and if you ever see that, it just means that maybe some parts of the Quebec immigration website aren't updated. Okay, so they need to sign an investment agreement with a company that's authorized by the investor program, and that company is going to take care of the kind of financial part of this. Now, what this person is doing is basically giving the Quebec government a $1.2 million loan that the person will get back in 5 years. Now, the person will not get any interest on this, will not make any money on this, and if the person maybe even loses his PR status because the person doesn't stay in Canada long enough, or if the person maybe is a citizen by then but moved away to another country, well, that's okay, but the person won't get their money back until 5 years after. A common mistake people make with this one is that they think that the person can invest 1.2 million in any business in Quebec, and that leads towards PR. Well, it doesn't. It goes through that program instead. Okay, self-employed. So does it sound familiar? Because there's, of course, the federal self-employed program, and this program is very similar. So there is a net worth requirement in here as well of $100,000 and a startup deposit. So there's a difference. So we see this in a lot of different provinces as well, where if the person wants to move to kind of a bigger city, the deposit is more. And if the person wants to move to outside of, in this case, the Montreal metro region, well, the deposit is smaller. Now for the entrepreneur program, there's 2 streams. Now it's interesting actually because this might remind you a lot of the startup visa program because it's very similar. And with the entrepreneur stream and also the self-employed stream, it is an area that you should have an understanding of, a general understanding of for your exam. But in real life, I mean, these are really small programs. Quebec, I think their cap for this year was 50 for the entrepreneur. I think it was 25 for self-employed. So these aren't really programs that people use too much. However, it is important for the exam somewhat. But if you kind of link these with your knowledge of other topics, of startup visa, for example, with this, of self-employed for the previous one, and this question kind of comes up in the exam, it is a good strategy to help you. Okay, so with this one here, they need to have a service offer from an incubator, so just like the startup, right? Or a business accelerator or university entrepreneur program to start a new business in Quebec. So that one business, if it is accepted, the person can nominate or bring up to 4 other permanent residents, and that includes the person himself or herself. Remember, you can have accompanying family and that kind of thing too. That wouldn't count towards the 4 over there. So the person has to submit a business plan, a very thorough business plan that is accepted and that service offers. So it is quite a process to immigrate through this program. Now the difference between Stream 1 and Stream 2 is pretty significant actually. For Stream 2, you have the option of purchasing a business rather than starting a business as in Stream 1. Although the person can create a business in Stream 2 as well. But the requirements are a lot more, really. That net worth of $900,000 is a lot. If the person is going to create a business, well, they need to own at least 25% of that business. If they're going to purchase an existing business, well, they have to be the majority shareholder in that business, and that would be 51%. Now, they're going to put in a deposit of $300,000 if the business that they're going to start or purchase is in the Montreal region, or $200,000 outside the MMR. And a security deposit as well. So this is interesting because from previous times, I guess, people would immigrate through these programs and just not start a business, or the government would have a really difficult time trying to track down the business that the person made, and it would lead to an inadmissibility removal order as well. So now, instead of doing that, Quebec changed, and Quebec keeps changing actually all the immigration programs. But it's pretty interesting that they have a deposit of $200,000. If the person does not live up to what they said they're going to do, well, they don't get that deposit back. All right, so that was just a quick little overview of Quebec's other economic immigration programs. So something very interesting about Quebec is that a lot of those programs are similar to federal programs. When you think of even the family class for Quebec as well, it's really the same as the federal, just the undertaking is a tiny bit different, but that's in your Test Day Data Booklet. The financials are just a tiny little bit different. That's in your booklet as well. So you don't need to worry about that too much. Even these programs we just saw, the point of this quick little video was just to give you a general overview of these economic programs. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this session, and I hope you keep up the good work with your studies.